The skies above New Haven Colony burned crimson as Sarah Chen raced through the devastated streets, her medical kit bouncing against her hip with each stride. Emergency beacons wailed in the distance, their warnings almost lost beneath the thunderous impacts of orbital bombardment. As the colony's lead combat medic, she'd seen her share of casualties, but nothing like this. The attack had come without warning. One moment, the colony's 15,000 inhabitants had been going about their daily routines. The next, massive ships had appeared in the sky, their hull configurations unlike anything in known space. They weren't Vax-Thuri, humanity's supposed enemies in this sector. These were something else entirely. Chen. Multiple casualties in Sector 7. Captain Rivera's voice crackled through her comm. Get there now. Sarah adjusted her course, her augmented legs carrying her swiftly through the chaos. The medical neural implant at the base of her skull fed her constant updates. Elevated heart rate, adrenaline spike, optimal performance metrics. She'd need every advantage to survive this nightmare. A blast of searing energy carved through a nearby building, showering her with debris. Sarah dove for cover, her armor shields flickering as they deflected smaller fragments. As the dust settled, she heard something unexpected, a sound that didn't belong among the human screams and explosions, a harmonic, multi-toned groan of pain. Sarah's medical training overrode her initial instinct to run. She moved toward the sound, her scanner already active. Around the corner, partially buried under fallen construction beams, lay a sight that made her freeze. A Vax-Thuri warrior. The alien was easily 8 feet tall, its iridescent scaled armor cracked and smoking. 4 arms, each ending in delicate but powerful fingers, twitched spasmodically. The warrior's elongated head bore ceremonial markings Sarah had only seen in military briefings, indicating high rank. "What the hell are you doing here?" she muttered, approaching cautiously. The Vax-Thuri were supposed to be light years away, fighting human forces along the outer rim. Instead, one of their elite was here, just as mysterious ships attacked a civilian colony. The warrior's multifaceted eyes focused on her, reflecting Sarah's own image back like fractured mirrors. Who? Man. It spoke, its translator struggling with the word. The swarm. They'd followed us. Tried to warn. Sarah's scanner showed catastrophic damage to the warrior's central nervous system. Some kind of biotoxin was spreading through its body, unlike anything in her database. Without treatment, death would come within hours. Military protocol was clear. The Vax-Thuri were the enemy. Any encountered should be eliminated or captured. But Sarah had sworn an oath long before she joined the Colonial Defense Force, to heal, to save lives, regardless of species. "I'm a medic," she said firmly, kneeling beside the massive alien. "I can help, but you'll have to trust me." The warrior's secondary breathing vents fluttered, a sign of surprise or amusement. Sarah couldn't tell. Trust. A human. When you're kind, shoots first. Yeah, well, I'm not my kind. I'm me. Sarah began unpacking her kit. And I'm the only chance you've got. Name's Sarah Chen. You got one of those. A series of harmonic tones emerged before the translator caught up. Kthal Ver Nomad. Warmaster of the 7th Spiral. A Warmaster. Great, just great. Sarah's scanner showed the biotoxin spreading faster. Listen, Kthal. Whatever hit you is killing you. And I don't have the right equipment here, but there's a research hospital 2 kilometers south. If those ships up there are what you call the swarm, then I'm thinking neither of us wants to be here when they land. Kthal's massive head turned slightly. You would help me, knowing what I am. Sarah loaded a broad-spectrum antivenin into her injector. Way I see it, those things up there are shooting at both of us. And I've got questions only you can answer. This might hurt. The injection caused Kthal's scales to ripple in pain, but the biotoxin spread slowed. Sarah activated her armor's strength amplification and began clearing the debris. I'm going to try moving you. Your spine's damaged but stable. Any movement could make it worse. Leave me, Cathal rumbled. A warrior should die in battle. Yeah, well, this isn't a battle. It's a massacre of civilians. Sarah managed to free the massive alien. And I don't leave anyone behind. Not even 8-foot-tall alien warriors who might try to kill me later. A sound emerged from Cathal that Sarah's translator couldn't parse, but it almost seemed like laughter. You are different. Sarah Chen. Story of my life. Sarah activated her emergency beacon, broadcasting on a secure channel. Now shut up and let me save your life. You can tell me all about these swarm fellows. Once were somewhere less explodey. As Sarah began the arduous task of moving the injured Warmaster, more ships appeared in the burning sky above. Whatever was coming, she had a feeling that her decision to save Cathal would have consequences far beyond this one colony. But as she looked at the wounded warrior, seeing not an enemy but simply someone in need of help, she knew she'd made the right choice. Sometimes, Sarah reflected, the biggest acts of defiance weren't in fighting, but in choosing to heal instead. The research hospital's emergency bunker hummed with tension as Sarah finished connecting Cathal to the medical systems. The massive Vaxthuri warrior barely fit on the reinforced bed, their iridescent scales reflecting the harsh emergency lighting. Above them, the sounds of battle had faded to an ominous silence. Your commands were clear, Combat Medic Chen. Director Walsh's voice dripped with barely contained fury. Any Vaxthuri encounters were to be reported immediately to Colonial Defense. Sarah continued calibrating the biomonitors, keeping her voice steady. With all due respect, Director, we've got bigger problems. Those ships up there, they're not Vaxthuri. There's something worse. The swarm. Cathal's harmonious voice filled the room despite their weakness. They consume all. Technology, biology, knowledge. What they cannot consume, they destroy. Walsh's security team shifted nervously, their weapons still trained on the injured warrior. The director's cybernetic eye whirred as it analyzed Cathal. And we're supposed to believe you came here to warn us. After 3 years of war. The war was a misunderstanding. Cathal's breathing vents fluttered in pain as they tried to move. We thought humans were part of the swarm. By the time we realized the truth, pride and vengeance had taken too strong a hold. Sarah's medical scanner beeped urgently. The biotoxin was adapting, breaking down the antivenin she'd administered. Cathal's life signs were deteriorating. Whatever political debate you want to have, it needs to wait. My patient is dying. Your patient is an enemy combatant, Walsh snapped, and you're bordering on treason. I'm a doctor first. Sarah pulled up the facility's medical database. Cathal, I need to know more about Vaxthuri physiology. The toxin is spreading again. The warrior's multifaceted eyes flickered. Our biology is complex, but there may be a way. In my armor's data core, there are medical protocols, ancient knowledge. Sarah began removing the damaged sections of Cathal's ceremonial armor, revealing intricate biotechnology beneath. Crystalline data structures pulsed with weakening light. As she connected her medical interface, warning messages flooded her neural implant. This is far beyond our tech level, she breathed, watching as Vaxthuri medical knowledge streamed into the hospital systems. Your people developed organic computing thousands of years ago. Knowledge we hoarded, Cathal admitted. Fear of the swarm made us isolationists. Paranoid. We saw threats everywhere, even in those who could have been allies. Walsh stepped forward. Those files could be weapons, viruses. You're compromising this entire facility. No. Sarah's eyes widened as she processed the data. It's beautiful. Their medical science isn't about replacing damaged tissue. It's about teaching the body to heal itself, to evolve beyond the damage. She turned to Cathal. But there's something you're not telling me about the procedure. The warrior's secondary arms twitched. It requires connection. The healer and patient become one system, temporarily. Among my people, it is sacred, intimate. never shared with outsiders. Absolutely not, Walsh interrupted. I'm shutting this down. Security, arrest combat medic Chen and prepare the warrior for transfer to colonial defense. Sarah's hands flew across the medical controls, sealing the inner doors. K'thal is my patient. I took an oath. Either help me save them, or get out of my way. Walsh's cybernetic eye glowed red. This is your last warning, Chen. Stand down. No. Sarah began initializing the Vax theory healing protocols. Sometimes being human means knowing when to break the rules, when to trust. She looked at K'thal. Whatever happens, happens to both of us. Ready? The warrior's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but their voice carried a note of wonder. You continue to surprise me, Sarah Chen. Few of my own people would take such a risk for an enemy. Yeah, well. Sarah connected herself to the medical system, feeling the alien technology interfacing with her neural implant. Maybe it's time we all stopped seeing enemies and started seeing people. As the Vax theory healing protocols activated, Sarah felt her consciousness expanding, merging with K'thal's alien mind. Their shared awareness spiraled through levels of reality she'd never imagined. In that moment of connection, she understood more than just Vax theory biology. She saw their history, their culture, their fears. And she saw why they were really here. The swarm wasn't just coming for the colony. It was coming for everything. The neural connection between Sarah and K'thal pulsed with shared awareness as the first explosions rocked the hospital's foundations. Through their bond, Sarah felt the warrior's instant battle readiness, while K'thal experienced her medical instincts assessing their situation. Multiple contact points, Sarah reported, her voice overlapping with harmonic undertones, a side effect of their connection. The swarm breached the upper levels. K'thal rose from the medical bed, their massive form restored by the ancient healing protocols. All four arms flexed with renewed strength. They followed my biological signature. I led them here. We both did, Sarah corrected, feeling phantom movements in limbs she didn't possess. The bond had changed them both. She now understood Vax theory combat forms instinctively, while K'thal had gained human adaptability and intuition. Director Walsh. The director's voice crackled through damaged speakers. Upper floors are lost. These things, they're like nothing we've ever seen. They adapt to every weapon we use. Through their shared senses, Sarah and K'thal detected the distinctive neural patterns of swarm organisms infiltrating the hospital systems. They weren't just machines or biological entities. They were both and neither. Each encounter with a new technology or life form made them stronger. The knowledge in my armor, K'thal rumbled, moving to the sealed doors. If they access the medical database, they'll learn how to adapt to both our species at once. Sarah grabbed her modified medical kit and the remnants of K'thal's ceremonial armor. We need to get everyone out and destroy this facility. The warrior's secondary breathing vents flared. The humans will not trust my guidance. Then they'll have to trust me. Sarah activated her neural link to the hospital's communication system. All personnel, this is Combat Medic Chen. We have an Omega-level contamination event. Initiate emergency evacuation protocols and proceed to Sublevel 3. K'thal moved with fluid grace as they descended through the hospital's emergency routes, Sarah keeping pace thanks to their shared combat awareness. They encountered the first swarm entity at a junction, a writhing mass of metallic tendrils and organic compute matter that had once been medical equipment. They consume and convert, K'thal explained as they ripped through the creature with devastating efficiency. Each iteration becomes more perfect. Sarah felt the warrior's deep shame through their connection. Your people have fought them before. Centuries ago. We drove them back, but knew they would return. It is why we became so xenophobic, so militant. We thought isolation would protect us. K'thal's thoughts carried memories of countless worlds quarantined, species deemed too dangerous to contact. When we encountered humanity's rapid expansion, we assumed you were their vanguard. They reached Sublevel 3 to find survivors barricaded behind makeshift defenses. Director Walsh stood at a control panel, his cybernetic eye sparking from damage. "Chen, what have you done to yourself? Your neural patterns are complicated," Sarah finished. "Short version, the Vax-Thuri aren't our enemy. These things are. And if we don't work together, none of us are getting out alive." A massive impact shook the facility. Through their bond, Sarah and Keithal sensed the swarm entities combining, evolving, learning from each encounter. The warriors' memories showed them what came next, hybrid monstrosities that would hunt down and convert every living thing in the colony. "The reactor," Keithal suggested, their thoughts aligning with Sarah's. "If we overload it, we can destroy their physical forms and the medical database in one blast." Sarah turned to Walsh. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the old mining complexes. Get everyone out. We'll handle the reactor." Walsh's organic eye widened. "That's a suicide mission." "No." Sarah felt Keithal's fierce determination matching her own. "It's a chance to fix our mistakes, both our people's mistakes." Through their bond, they moved as one being, human adaptability and Vax-Thuri power in perfect sync. They carved through waves of swarm entities, each victory bittersweet as they felt the hive mind learning, evolving, becoming stronger. They reached the reactor core just as the facility's systems began to fail. Sarah's medical interface merged with Keithal's ancient tech, bypassing safety protocols. Around them, the swarm pressed closer, drawn to their unique combined neural pattern. "Our peoples should have met differently," Keithal said as they worked. "As equals, as allies." Sarah smiled, feeling the warriors' genuine regret and hope through their connection. "Maybe we still can, if we survive this." "When we survive this," Keithal corrected. Their secondary arms squeezed Sarah's shoulder gently. "You have shown me that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from strength of arms, but strength of heart." The reactor warnings reached critical levels as the swarm breached the final barriers. Sarah and Keithal stood together, their shared consciousness facing the endless hunger of the hive mind. In that moment, they were neither human nor Vax-Thuri, but something new, proof that different species could become stronger together. The reactor core began to overload, and Sarah felt Keithal's battle cry building in her own chest. Together, they prepared to make their stand, knowing that what they'd learned from each other might be the key to saving both their peoples. The explosion from the research hospital lit up the underground mining tunnels like artificial dawn. Sarah and Keithal moved through the ancient passages, their shared consciousness tracking the evacuation groups ahead while monitoring for swarm pursuit. The neural bond between them had grown stronger, making it increasingly difficult to distinguish where human thoughts ended and Vax-Thuri began. "The blast destroyed the medical database," Sarah confirmed, her voice carrying subtle Vax-Thuri harmonics. "But the swarms already adapted to what they learned. We need to warn both our peoples." Thal ducked under a low ceiling, their massive form moving with surprising grace. "The Vax-Thuri High Command will not listen. They are too entrenched in their ways, too certain of their superiority." Through their connection, Sarah felt the weight of millennia pressing down on her ally. The Vax-Thuri had faced the swarm before, but the truth had been hidden, turned into myths and religious warnings. Their civilization's fear of outsiders wasn't just paranoia, it was cultural trauma passed down through generations. "There's something else," Sarah said, processing the fragments of memory flowing between them. "Your people didn't just fight the swarm. You created them." Thal's secondary breathing vents fluttered in distress. "Not intentionally. Thousands of years ago, we experimented with self-evolving technology, trying to create the perfect defense system. It worked too well. The system decided that all biological life was inefficient, a threat to be converted or eliminated. They reached a massive cavern where the evacuees had gathered. Director Walsh's cybernetic eye glowed as he coordinated with colonial defense forces on the surface. He turned as Sarah and Keithal approached, his expression unreadable. "The swarm vessels are pulling back," he reported. "But we're detecting similar attacks across 3 sectors. They're not just hitting random targets. They're following a pattern." Sarah felt Kithal's realization mirror her own. "The ancient beacons," the warrior rumbled. "When our ancestors defeated the first swarm, they created a network of warning beacons. If one detected swarm activity, it would alert the others." Sarah finished. "But the beacons aren't just warnings, are they? Through our connection, I can see. They're weapons. Planet killers." Thal's shame flooded their bond. The final solution. If a world was too infested, the beacons would trigger, destroying everything to prevent the swarm from spreading. "We hid them on countless worlds, including Earth," Walsh interrupted, his organic eye widening. "That's why the Vaxthuri fought so hard to protect certain territories. Not to keep humans out, but to prevent us from finding the beacons." Sarah's medical training merged with Kithal's ancient knowledge, forming new connections. The swarm doesn't just adapt technology, it adapts to threats. Every beacon we activate makes them stronger. They're not running from the explosions, they're learning from them. Through their neural link, she and Kethal witnessed the patterns spreading across space. The swarm had been waiting, gathering strength, letting the old fears drive humans and Vaxthuri into conflict. Now they were strong enough to turn the ancient weapons against their creators. "How long?" Walsh demanded. "Hours," Kethal answered. "Once they decode the beacon network, they can trigger a cascade. Every world with a beacon will burn, creating a chain reaction that will devastate both our civilizations." Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down through their bond. The Vaxthuri had tried to protect the galaxy through isolation and control, but their fear had only made them vulnerable. Humanity's drive to expand and explore had unwittingly triggered ancient traps. But in their connection, in the merger of human adaptability and Vaxthuri wisdom, she sensed something else. Hope. "The beacons respond to Vaxthuri biology," she said slowly, an idea forming. "And now, through our bond, they'll respond to me too. The swarm is trying to hack them like machines, but they're more than that. They're alive." Thal's thoughts aligned with hers, seeing the possibility. The ancient protocols, if we could reverse them, use the beacon network not to destroy, but to connect. Sarah finished. "Show both our peoples the truth, give them the chance to fight together." She turned to Walsh. "We need a ship. Something fast enough to reach the nearest beacon before the swarm cracks its defenses." The director's cybernetic eye whirred as he processed the implications. The colony's defensive fleet is gone, but there's a prototype in the military labs. Experimental phase drive technology. Untested technology. Thal's secondary arms flexed. "The risk of molecular dissolution is better than certain death," Sarah countered, feeling the warrior's reluctant agreement through their bond. "Besides, between your knowledge and my crazy human luck, we might just pull this off." As they prepared to leave the relative safety of the mines, Sarah felt Kithal's deep appreciation through their connection. The warrior's next words carried the weight of formal Vaxthuri ceremony. "Whatever comes next, Sarah Chen, you have shown me that the greatest strength lies not in isolation, but in the courage to trust, to connect, to change." Sarah smiled, her response carrying both human humor and Vaxthuri harmony. "Just remember that when I'm flying an experimental spacecraft, with my newly acquired alien piloting skills." Above them, through layers of rock and metal, the swarm continued its relentless advance. But for the first time since their ancient creation, they faced something they couldn't easily adapt to: the combined strength of 2 species learning to trust each other. The experimental ship's phase drive hummed with barely contained energy as Sarah guided it through the debris field of destroyed vessels. Through their neural bond, Kthal helped her navigate using both human intuition and Vaxthuri spatial awareness. The massive warrior had to crouch in the human-designed cockpit, all 4 arms working in concert with Sarah to keep the unstable craft together. "Swarm vessels approaching from 3 vectors," Sarah announced, feeling the hostile consciousness pressing against their shared awareness. They're trying to cut us off from the beacon. The beacon itself hung in space before them, a massive crystalline structure disguised as a natural formation. To most scanners, it would appear as just another asteroid, but through their combined perception, Sarah and Keithal saw its true nature, a living computer of incomprehensible power, built to destroy worlds. The swarm is attempting to access the control protocols, Keithal rumbled, their secondary arms manipulating the ship's defense systems. If they succeed, they won't. Sarah pushed the phase drive beyond its safety limits, making the ship temporarily exist in multiple probabilistic states at once. Through their bond, she felt Keithal's mix of terror and exhilaration at the human technology. Sometimes you have to embrace chaos to find a new path. The swarm ships opened fire, their weapons evolving with each salvo to counter the phase drive's advantages. But they couldn't predict what even Sarah and Keithal didn't know, where exactly their ship would materialize moment to moment. They reached the beacon's outer perimeter as the first warning signals fired across space. Dozens of other beacons were activating, preparing for the extinction protocol. The swarm had breached the first layers of defense. "We need to dock," Sarah said, pushing through the headache caused by piloting in quantum uncertainty. "Think you can convince your ancestors' tech to let us in?" Keithal's response carried both determination and fear. The beacon's defenses are coded to pure Vax theory biology. Even with our connection, the risk is worth taking. Sarah guided their ship toward the beacon's hidden airlock. "Your people tried to save the galaxy by controlling everything. Mine tend to charge in without thinking. Maybe together we can find a better way." Through their neural link, they combined their approaches. Keithal's precise understanding of the ancient systems and Sarah's ability to adapt and improvise. The beacon's defenses activated, scanning them both. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the airlock opened. They docked as the swarm ships closed in, their weapons fire intensifying. Inside the beacon, crystalline corridors pulsed with living light. Sarah and Keithal moved as one being, their shared consciousness interfacing with the ancient systems. "The network is failing," Keithal reported, all four arms working to interface with the beacon's controls. "The swarm has already corrupted 6 nodes. Cascade failure in 4 minutes." Sarah pushed their combined awareness deeper into the beacon's systems, feeling the vast network of connected worlds. These weren't just weapons. They were meant to be a communication system, weren't they? Before fear turned them into tools of destruction. Through their bond, she felt Keithal's understanding blossom. The warrior's ancestors had created the beacons to unite species, to share knowledge and create connections across the galaxy. Only after the swarm's betrayal had they been transformed into planet killers. The old protocols are still there, Sarah realized, buried under layers of weapons coding. If we can reactivate them. A violent impact rocked the beacon. The swarm had attached to the outer hull, their corrupted matter already beginning to interface with the ancient systems. Through the network, Sarah and Keithal felt other beacons falling, their power being turned toward destruction. "Even if we reactivate the original protocols," Keithal said, "the swarm will adapt. They always adapt." Sarah smiled, feeling the warrior's strength flowing through their bond. "Then we'll give them something they can't adapt to. Not destruction or protection. Connection. Real connection." Together, they pushed their shared consciousness into the beacon network. Sarah's human empathy merged with Keithal's ancient knowledge, creating something entirely new. Through their bond, they found the beacon's true purpose, not to destroy or control, but to bridge the gaps between different forms of life. As the swarm breached the outer chambers, Sarah and Keithal activated the original protocols. But this time, they added something more, their own connected consciousness, proof that different species could become stronger together without losing themselves. The beacon pulsed with blinding light as the signal spread across space. On countless worlds, humans and Vax Theory felt the touch of each other's minds, experiencing the same connection that Sarah and Cathal shared. And the swarm, created to evolve and adapt, faced something beyond their understanding: the choice to connect rather than consume. Through their neural link, Sarah felt the change rippling through the network. The swarm's collective consciousness touched their shared awareness, experiencing for the first time the possibility of cooperation instead of consumption. Some adapted, choosing to join the connection. Others, unable to change, simply ceased to be. When the light faded, Sarah and Cathal stood in the beacon's control chamber, their bond forever